Hi kids, I want to talk to you a little bit about fixing some common formatting problems in your poem quotes. And I'm going to show you the same essay with several different types of errors. So first off, let me say that this document, How to Correctly Format Quotes from a Poem, is on Classroom, and it's also linked from the Literary Essay and Chart Form. And oh, there's a video where when you find it on Classroom, it's at the beginning of the quarter that we first talked about it. There's a video attached to that post. So you can watch the video that explains this whole thing, but some people are still confused. So I'm going to show you how to fix several common errors. So the first error is there are no quote marks. If your quote is 1 line or 2 lines or 3 lines, you have to have quote marks. So here this person wrote, for example, it states a man standing at the bus stop. No, we gotta have quote marks. That is a quote that is 1 line long, and we're gonna fix it by putting quote marks there. Now, here's the same person with a similar quote, and they've got quote marks, but they don't have line numbers. A man standing at the bus stop reading the newspapers on fire. This is a little bit longer, so we need to put line numbers on it. And which lines are those? Lines 1 and 2. Okay, so you can do like this, 1-2, or you could also write it states in lines 1-2. And there are other ways to do it as well. Now, even if this person had line numbers, let's imagine they have line numbers now. Quote still isn't correct. Why? Because if the quote is 2 lines long, which it is here, a man standing at the bus stop reading the newspaper is on fire. See, that's 2 lines. We have to put a forward slash where the original line break used to be. Because look at here, the student has written it all as one continuous line here. But in the original poem, it's 2 lines. Right here is line break. So, bam, need a forward slash. All right. Now, there are times when you don't put a forward slash, and that's when the quote is so long. When the quote, I'm just going to fix this. When the quote is really long, we don't use forward slashes. We use this thing called a block quote. So let's imagine the student has a man standing at the bus stop reading the newspapers on fire. Flames are peeking out from beneath his collar and cuffs. His shoes have begun to melt. How long is that? Oh, that's the whole first stanza. That's 5 lines. For quotes of 4 or more lines, we make what's called a block quote. And it's called a block quote because it looks like a block. So 4 or more lines, what you do is, first, no quote marks. Second, you give it its own little section, so you hit enter, and you indent it. Google Doc just indented it automatically for me. Third, you keep the same formatting that you already had in the original poem. So in the original poem, the author hit enter after stop, he hit enter after fire, he hit enter after out, and he also had a line break after cuffs. And then, so in the original poem, looks like this, right? Bam. You do this when you have a quote of 4 or more lines. That's called a block quote. And then when you're done with your block quote, you resume the paragraph, you go back to the paragraph, but on a new line. So here, blah, 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 first body paragraph, then we jump into our block quote, and then here, we're continuing the body paragraph, just continuing it. Now, don't get confused here by the fact that I'm going across pages. You know what, I'll hit enter a few times here to make it, to show you. So, first body paragraph, block quote, and then you just resume the body paragraph on the next line. You don't indent because we're not starting a new one. We're continuing the body paragraph we are already in. Now, there's one more thing missing here, right? Maybe you've guessed it. Line numbers. 5 here. Or we could say in lines 1 through 5, colon, or we could do 1-5. There we go. So now this is a beautiful block quote. And that's what you do when you have 4 more lines. Last problem is if you have no quote at all. This same author here has a third body paragraph with no quote from the poem. They got a nice topic sentence, but here they're just describing what's happening and there's no actual quote from the poem. So that's something else you've got to remember to do. So let me just go back and recap. You have to have quote marks if it's a quote of 1 or 2 or 3 lines. And you have to have line numbers also, right? You have to have forward slashes if it's a quote of 2 or 3 lines to show where the line breaks went. If it's a quote of 4 or more lines, you have to make it look like this, get rid of the quote marks, still keep those line numbers. And of course, you have to have a quote. All right, so hopefully this helps. If you need to go back and play sections of it over again, do that.